Everyone, hello. I hope I am audible. Uh, I hope I am audible. And today's agenda of this particular event is this: we wanted to discuss the kind of benefits and the kind of perks and what exactly happening in data analytics and data domain. And we also wanted to make you understand like why exactly it's very crucial and important to take a leap in your career with respect to data or data analytics. Okay, before to that, let me introduce myself. My name is Sham Prasad, and the kind of projects I've done till now are OCR and NER, optical character recognition, and I've even created a lead generation project wherein this gives a probability of lead conversion. Discussing about the work experience, I worked as a data manager at Skillovilla, and I worked as subject matter expert at Skillovilla, and I've been worked as AI developer at. So this is about my very brief introduction, and let me also discuss about my education background. So this is an interesting thing. I have my graduation in mining engineering. I hope you all know what is mining. Just in case if you do not know, this is about gold mines, iron mines, and bauxite. These kinds of. And I have my graduation from this background, and I have my post graduation from Triple ITB, very specified towards data science and artificial intelligence, wherein I hold my CGPA at 3.75 out of 4. So this is a brave info about me. Now, let us discuss what exactly happens in this workshop and what is this workshop about. So before getting into the workshop, let's understand the need of data analytics. What exactly is data analytics and why we should actually think of pursuing our careers in data domain. I'll give you one very good example. This geo was introduced to India somewhere around 2012, 2013, somewhere there. From that particular year onwards, every single individual, I mean, 60% of Indians are consuming on an average 800 to 1 GB per day. Can you even imagine 60% of Indians are consuming 800 to 1 GB per day? Where this data is going? So this is something very important which we need to understand. And what's happening with this data? And somehow we are able to generate data and what's happening with the data and where this data is going. Let's take a very good use case. uh, let's say you go to Amazon or any website. It can be Flipkart or it can be your Mintra, and you're searching for some product. You just came out of the particular website and you try to open your any different browser, and you see a very small pop-up on the bottom line of your website wherein this particular thing shows you have already searched for this product. Just in case if you like this, you can buy it from here. So can you think about this? Like you've searched in a different website, and again, Chrome is giving you this recommendation from nowhere. Like what exactly is happening with this data? Let me give one more use case. Let's say you see a very specific video on YouTube, or you searched for a specific video on YouTube, and then from nowhere, YouTube recommends you all the related and all the videos that are close enough to your searches. For example, if you search for any orchid music, then probably YouTube automatically creates an entire playlist which contains all different types of orchid musics. So how all these magics are happening? How all these recommendation things are being done? All these things are being done on top of data analysis. And what is data analysis? It is nothing but understanding the patterns in the data. How do we do that? It is I'll give you one more example. You go to any website and you discuss about, or when let's say you searched a very specific product, even that particular website or application will start recommending you the very similar kind of products which you have searched for. That can be your Netflix recommends you the kind of shows you have watched in the Netflix, or that can be your Amazon Prime, or that can be your any OTT platform. And it depends on almost like all the platforms use recommendation. So what is recommendation? Recommending something on top of users choices or recommendation. And the reason why we have discussed all this is just to intimate the kind of data we are producing on daily basis. So what is this? Now let's try to understand what is data. This is a fundamental question I have from my end. What is data? I would define data in this way. Anything which occupies space is nothing but the data. For example, you can see something there, okay, something there. So right now, I'm not sure if you can read it or not, but you can see this is occupying some space. I would like to call that as data. And when it comes to digital space, let's say you open a WordPad, or in that case, I can share you my screen. Let me share my screen and let me open my Excel. I hope you can see my screen. Not able to find a tab for Excel. That's the reason I've shared my entire screen. So let's say this is a blank Excel sheet. And now I'm just typing anything random. So these are just random things. So if you can see, essentially they themselves does not carry any meaning for them. But the essential part is, even though they're not able to carry any meaning for themselves, they're still occupying some space. So essentially, this is nothing but the data. I hope you're all clear with what is exactly is data. Now, what is information? Information is something which carries meaning to it. I have a one very specific question. That is how this data and information are related to each other. Let's discuss this. This is very interesting part. Let's say there's a data and let's say there's a information. So when you have a very large amount of data, when you are able to take out the observable insights, or when you're able to take out the insights which are shareable and which are expressible. So this is the essential difference between data and information. Now, how exactly a data analyst plays a key role within the data and information? This is the catch. Let me explain or break this down for you. Let's take a very good example. Let's take Coca-Cola company. So these companies are able to sell their beverages from past 30, 40, 50 years, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Now, if you have their entire data, physically it's not humanly possible to read the entire data. So what if I extract information from them? For example, like number of beverages sold in this particular year, or number of beverages sold in entire India, or it can be number of beverages sold across Asia. So these are things which can be discussed. Based on these discussions, a lot of decisions can be made. So this is the essential difference between data and information. And other key point is data by itself does not need to have any information in it. It is anything which occupies space. And information should have some value to it. It's more of like a conversation. Information is nothing but conversation. A very good example is I am talking and you're able to listen and understand it. This is nothing but information. So this is the fundamental difference between data and information. So what exactly data analyst does? Let's say I have a very large amount of data and 99 point, I would say 100%. 100% of the times people will not be able to understand anything out of raw data. Here comes the data analyst. He comes into the picture and he analyzes the data and he helps businesses and organizations to make decisions on top of the data. Let me give you a very good example. Let's take Netflix as an example, and I'm the user. If you are a data analyst and if you have all my Netflix data, the kind of keywords, the kind of searches I've done in the Netflix, and the kind of uh, shows and TV shows have been binged on the Netflix. So if you analyze the entire data, then you would probably understand what kind of shows I'm more inclined towards, what kind of movies I'm more searching in Netflix, and what kind of TV series and other shows I'm really interested in, because you have all my searches too, you have all my recommended movies, and you also know how many TV shows I've clicked on the items which are visible on the wall in front of me. So based on that, you can make uh, good decisions on top of the data. You can see, okay, this person is not doing anything what we're recommending. Now, let me try to give him a different options. This option should be based on uh, these options should be based on what he has searched earlier or what he has searched the genre or the other parameters. So these are the few things a data analyst can change the entire industry. And what are the other things a data analyst can think of doing? Let me give you one more example. So we had corona outbreak right at India. If you can look at the academic years like 2019, 20, 21, even now we have one or two minor cases here and there. How were how we were able to track or how we were able to know like what's happening across India in lifetime or in the lifetime basis. So that is because of the data. So do you agree that just by looking at the data that we were able to sense everything? No, we have to visualize the data. Let's say you have like 1 million rows, 1 million columns. So how do you deal with so much amount of data? Like you cannot practically deal anything or you cannot practically understand anything out of the data. Then what is that you can do on top of this data? That's where data analysis and data visualization comes into the picture, which is a major part of data analyst's life cycle, wherein you would be responsible for analyzing the data or taking out insights from the data or taking out the required information from the data, or you would be responsible for bringing out what the data is trying to explain. For example, if we discuss about corona outbreak, then a data analyst, he can take out insights from the data, like how many people got vaccinated and how many vaccinated people got coronavirus again, and what is the outbreak of vaccinated people from the virus, and what are the casualties, and what are the different things that coronavirus has impacted on human beings. So these are the few things a data analyst can take out from the data itself. And now discussing about the workshop. What is the need of workshop and why exactly we should really think about the workshop? So in this workshop, we have covered the entire data analytics course on a beginner level to intermediate level, wherein we will be discussing the essentials of data analytics part and data analysis part, and we will also be discussing about business intelligence tools. What is business intelligence tools? Business intelligence tools are the tools which have the capability to represent very huge mass amount of data right in the screen. Let me give you a very good example. Let's say you have 1 million rows and 1 million columns, or 5 million rows, 5 million columns. Practically, it's next to impossible just at a glance to understand or to take out any details from this particular data. And how do we make this visually appealing, or how do we make this into an explanatory patterns, or how do we find the trends of the data? If we find the trends of the data, how do we present it such a way that everybody are able to understand what this particular data is trying to explain? So we need some help in this particular domain, and this help, we usually take this help from intelligent tools like Power BI, or it can be your Tableau, or it can be your ClickSense. There are various tools just like this outside. Now, why do we need this business intelligence tool? We need this business intelligence tool to understand what exactly data is trying to explain, and we also need the same tool to take decisions on top of the data and to understand what's happening in the data. It can be the trends, it can be the downfalls, or it can be the lifts, or it can be analysis of any particular portion of the data. So these are about the business intelligence tools. And discussing about Excel. Excel is a place where we usually manipulate, process, analyze, clean, and basically store the data. Now, what is this? Let's say, for example, you have a school, and mostly you would be having 100 students in the school. Where do we store the data? Mostly 90% of the times, all the data is being stored in the Excel, and then it is being transferred to ETL tools. That's a different thing, but essentially Excel is the primary tool which is being used to store the data, understand the data, process the data, and do all of the different operations on top of the data. Now, how exactly Excel plays a pivotal role with a data analyst? So Excel is very important because let's say you have a data, and you also know there are various things or various operations that data needs to undergo, and you want to visualize in a small scale, or let's say you want to process the data, for example adding a new feature or removing the new feature or engineering something, or you want to sum it up, or you want to understand any insights from the data, or it can be a sum probability or whatsoever it is. Excel can do the job, and Excel and Power BI, they both go hand in hand. This is about the essential tools that is required to understand and estimate the data that's being available. So let's discuss why you should actually think of pursuing your career in data domain. The data domain is expanding so vastly that we are able to produce around 65,000 TB every hour. The data sources are only from 5 to 10 different sources. That can be YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, and again comes your Facebook, WhatsApp. Only from these different sources, we are producing around 65,000 terabytes every hour. Now, think about the kind of data we're producing in almost all the sources every day. And we're producing the same kind of data on daily basis from years. And companies are struggling to take decisions on top of the data. Very good example. Let's say there is a specific location who has a lot of heart diseases or very specific health condition type. So even after knowing this, when we fail to analyze the data, we will not be able to recover, or we will not be able to help that particular demographic people with that particular disease. So this is one insight from the data. The next thing is, whenever a company needs to take a leap, or whenever a company needs to take a move or want to spend or want to invest on something, so even the company is required to analyze like what is the direction, what has happened till now, what will happen in the future, and how do we expand this. So for all this, a decision needs to be taken, and decisions will all be taken on top of facts. So how do we get the facts? Again, that's from the data. And if you go to any store, it can be your Reliance, it can be your Big Basket, it can be your mall, or it can be your KFC, it can be your Big Burger, any store. If you go to any store, all the details will be recorded in one or the other place, and all the data will be analyzed to understand what exactly this particular store or this particular place is doing. So if you can observe the trend, data is something which will never die, and we will probably not encounter a day wherein we will not produce data. Not only directly or passively, we have been generating data and we will be generating the data. Wherein this requires manual intervention to understand or to estimate or to make any decisions. A manual way of portraying the data is very highly required in this particular situation. Now, if you now we are like very sure why we should think of our careers in data domains and why we should think of our careers in data analyst. Let me recap this. Why you should actually think of your career in data analyst. So, if you're a person who does not want to be a very hardcore programmer or does not want to uh, create and very complex algorithms, or who does not want to create a very sophisticated algorithms or any artificial intelligence techniques, then probably you should think of data analytics. Wherein in data analytics, you would have ready to use tools like Power BI, Excel, which are extremely simple to use. What matters is how did you learn it and how good problem solver you are. So what matters is problem solving matters. What matters is how do we break down the problem and how do we approach to a place wherein we can actually solve the particular problem. Now, let me try to portray what exactly this course is and how exactly this course will help, and what are the different career opportunities you can take up from this particular course. When discussing about the course, we have curated course in a way wherein anyone from any background should be able to understand and should be able to cope up with the particular mentor whoever is taking. Second thing, we have included almost all the technologies that is required to become a data analyst. That can be your Excel, that can be your problem solving methodologies, and that can also be your business intelligence tools like Power BI. That can also be a business intelligence tools like Power BI. Now, what happens in the course? On the first week, we will discuss about the essentials of data information, what is data analytics, how data analytics came into the picture, and how exactly we can leverage the power of data analytics to solve complex business problems. And that includes even a case study as well. So once we're done with that, then we will try to understand the basic essentials of Excel. What is Excel? What is cell reference? What are the formulas? And what are the few techniques and few formulas that are used day in and day out? Like that can be your essential sum function, sum function or other different formulas. And on the second day, we will be discussing everything about Excel. So, what are the advanced formulas? That can be a lookup function. If you have missing values, how can you deal the missing values? And how do you save? Or what is comma separated values? What is delimiter? And how do you deal these things? On the third day, we will discuss about the advanced functions in Excel. That's your logical functions. And then comes your problem solving skills. So we will discuss something called MEES, that is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive problem solving business framework methodology. Wherein here we will discuss how do we exactly break down a business problem by using a framework. That can be a MEES, that can be a fishbone diagram, that can be your agile, that can be a scrum. Let's use one of the methodology to understand how exactly the businesses are solving their own problems, and let's try to replicate with our own problem statement. Once we are done with that, now we will discuss about Power BI, how to load the data, how to transform the data, what is Power Query, what is Power Pivot tables, and how do we access the data in Power BI. And we will be discussing even how do we link Power BI to Excel as well. And we also will be discussing how exactly we're going to do uh, live dashboarding in the Power BI, full fledged, and that depends on variable domains as well. For example, if you are a finance background, if you are from marketing background, or if you want to be very specialized towards a specific background, if you want to be a very specific towards any particular background, then you can probably be very specialized towards that as well. So these are the few different things which would be outcomes from the particular workshop. And what happens at the end of the course? What are the different job opportunities you can actually focus once you complete the workshop? You can focus on becoming a data analyst from beginner to intermediate level. Beginner can be your data analyst itself, or junior data analyst, or your any senior intern positions, or it can be your mid-level data analyst positions. So what is that stops you to become full-fledged data analyst from this workshop? That is being a full-fledged problem solver and understanding the domain expertise, which will be extremely focused if you take up the course for the full time, which is of 6 months. So that's all from my end. I hope this session was interactive enough, and let me know if you have any questions or any Q&A. Please drop it in comment section. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. It was really nice discussing with you.